So I sit in, they put me back in the hole, and I'm in there for about 2-3 hours, and then all of a sudden they're calling me out again. And it's the same probation officers. And I says, well, now what? And they handcuffed me and put me in the car again. And I'm just, well, what is going on here? And they turn around on the way to this, wherever we're driving at this point, and they said, you're right, you're clean. Task told us you're clean. And I says, well, then where are we going? We're going to go to the hospital and get another test to verify the first test.
Okay.
So they took me to a hospital, and they tested me, and now we have the results right then and there. And the hospital said he's clean. There's no drugs in the system at all. So they said, okay, we're going to take you back. We're putting you back on the work furlough program. So they take me back to I guess it's Estrella at that point, and they put me in a holding cell, and then they leave me in this holding cell for like, I don't know, 26 hours or something before they even took me back out to the work furlough program. They say they lost my paperwork, whatever. So at any rate, they take me back, and now I'm gone probably 36 hours with no sleep, and just in time to get released to go to work. So I go to work, come back, and everything was fine for about 3 or 4 days, and then they rolled me up again because I had a t-shirt that I was wearing that said anybody but Arpaio underneath a sweatshirt. And so they told me I wasn't allowed to wear that, which is obviously a violation of free speech, and rolled me up because of that. And then I spent my last 2 months in custody, in full custody. So then and then what happened, I was due to get out, whatever day it was, let's just say it was in May 12th. Well, they tried to violate me on this search situation and ended up holding me 4 more days beyond my release date.
Just continuously
just
jerking with
sure. And then what happened was I go to court, and the judge saw what was going on and said, this is ridiculous. You know, you're reinstated in probation. You're to be released immediately.
All right.
Well, it took them almost another 27, 28 hours to finally release me.
That's immediately.
Yeah. And then I still had 5 years of probation, and I was able to get off probation in 2.5 years. So, you know, that's pretty much my situation, and the fact that one, I lost the bowling center that I had a lot of money into. I was put in a position I couldn't work for probably 4 or 5 years. Nobody would hire me. Then my name was smeared all over the place. And then some of the ironic situations in some of this that we didn't discuss is, like when I was originally arrested at the Fountain Hills Bowl that night and taken into custody and charged with attempted murder, they went and got a warrant from a judge, and they went out to my house.
Oh, yeah.
And made my family leave and proceeded to tear apart my house and take my kids' computers, my computers, backup drives, all my files, investigative files on everything that I had researched over the years. They took things, they took my Vietnam ribbons, I had pictures of presidents because I've done some things with the Secret Service over the years. They took those pictures, they called the Secret Service and told them that I had threatened Joe Arpaio and that I could be an assassin. Secret Service came out and interviewed me while I was in jail and just laughed at it. You know, they said, don't worry about it, you know, everything's fine. During that search, they planted a bug in my house. Now, we didn't know it at the time, but now understand how we found out about this as things went on. I owned a Di Tommaso Pantera, a GT5.
Beautiful.
It was one of last 17 in the world. It's a very specialized car. I'd spent many years, 8 years rebuilding it, and it was truly a concourse car.
No, top of the line.
And I had it, at the time, it was parked over at Vehicle Performance, a shop, because Mike Higgins was doing a few things that I needed to be done on it.
Right.
Nobody knew the car was there, other than my wife, okay? And so I'm talking to her from jail, and she's panicking because we've got no money to pay bills, we've got no money to pay house payments, we've got no money to eat.
Right.
And I says, okay, well, what you've got to do is go get the car. You know where it's at. I was telling her this from the jail phone.
Yeah.
Now, so I knew better than to give any
Right.
where it's at or anything. She knew. And I says, you know where the car's at. You go get the car with Debbie and sell it. The car's worth, you know, $80,000. Sell it, put that money in the bank. We'll use it for the legal fees. We'll use it for things that we need to live while we get through this situation. So she said, okay, hung up the phone. She calls Debbie Niles, which was the finance company for Coulter Cadillac, Bill Coulter, and tells Debbie, okay, Debbie, we need to go get the car because we have to sell it. This is what's going on with Jim. And Debbie says, okay, where is it? Now, this is a conversation happening from my house to Debbie at Coulter Cadillac.
All right.
So my wife tells Debbie where the car is located and gives her the address. All right, and Debbie says, I will have a tow truck out there tomorrow by probably 2 o'clock to pick the car up. Call Mike and tell him I'm sending a tow truck and he'll be there at 2. Elaine said, okay. She hangs up the phone, calls Mike and tells him. Hangs up the phone. Next morning, 10 o'clock, the sheriff's department is out at Mike Higgins' shop and says, we're here to look at Jim Cozzolino's Pantera. They looked at it, put it on a tow truck, and took it without warrant. Told Mike that if you don't release the car, we're going to make it hard for you. Put it on a tow truck, impounded the car, and took it into custody. Now, how would they have known? We don't know how yet, but understand, they knew where that car was.
Why do they need it?
And how would they even know? It had nothing to do with the situation at Fountain Hills. It wasn't at my house at the time of, so what is the point of that? So we go to court, and me going back and forth to court, we try to get it back from them. Then they accuse me of stealing the car. Then when we proved that the car's not stolen, then they tried to accuse me of stealing the money to buy the car. Well, Debbie jumps up in Phoenix Finance and says, he didn't steal the money, I lent it to him. Here's the paperwork. So that didn't work. So then they said, well, then you brought it into the country illegally.
Wow.
The judge ordered them to give it back. They didn't give it back, they handed it off to Customs. So again, Bob Nelson from the New Times got involved. And Bob called a contact that he had at Customs and said, look, dude, this whole deal is shaky right from the beginning, okay? You probably should give him back the car because if you don't, I'm going to make a major story out of this and you're going to get sued over it. So Customs got in touch with me because now I'm out of jail. At this point, I'm out on the bail. And says, we won't give it back to you, Jim Cozzolino. We're going to give it back to Debbie at Phoenix Acceptance as long as she signs a document that says she won't sue us and you can't sue us. So I said, okay, whatever. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I signed the document. Debbie signed the document. They gave her back the car. She gave me back the car. I got my car back after $8,600 in attorney's fees.
And they messed the car up for you, right?
And then when I did get the car back, that they damaged it, they'd broken things off of it, pieces were missing, the entire MSD was missing, the car was totally scratched up, it had just damage that wasn't there.
Right.
So, you know, quite naturally, we're all kind of shaking our heads going, okay, well, either they got to be tapping my phone illegally, or how would they have known where the car is? So the first thing I did was decided, okay, you know what, it's time to tear the house apart. So I did a complete, tore my office apart. We found a bug that was battery run, stuffed in between my desk and a book credenza with an antenna. They bugged my house during the surge.
All right, this just goes on and on, doesn't it, Jim?
Yeah, it's 12 years of history, so it's been a long, hard road.
Well,
and I don't understand how they get away with it. You know, I look at, you know, like Mary Wilcox, and I think it's important, and I do want to say this, but I look at things like going on with Don Stapley and Mary Wilcox. You know, now all of a sudden Arpaio goes after them, and now all of a sudden there's this just big major problem. Well, you know, I got a question for Mary Rose Wilcox and Don Stapley. Where the hell were you people in the last 12 years that Arpaio's been out there stepping all over everybody when you thought it was funny?
Got a reply for him?
You know.
We got to wrap it up,
Okay.
Jim. We could go on for hours talking. I know.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Inspirational. Thanks for coming out and talking with us.
It's my pleasure. It's
Thank you, sir.
good to be here.
Thank you much.
All right.